Hey guys, Movie Fans 56 here, and do I look a little bit different today? Yeah, it's just a green mask that I got at the Halloween store. It was like $1, really, really cheap. Uh, but today we're doing the Arrow after show for tonight's episode, season 3, episode 3, and look at this list. A lot of stuff to get through today. Um, as usual, the positives outweigh the negatives, so let's jump right into it. If you guys haven't seen my extras before, I go through the positive stuff I liked about the episode. The negative stuff I think that could have been improved in the episode. And I just give my overall thoughts. And we're going to jump right into this bad boy. Alright. Basically what this episode was about was, if you guys see my flash after show for this week, you'll notice it's kind of short. I didn't really have too much to talk about. I wrote down all the stuff I liked and the thing I didn't like. And this is really bugging me. Alright. But this one should be a little bit longer. But overall, the episode was about Oliver tracking down Thea and trying to convince her to go back to Starling City. And meanwhile, there's this guy that Diggle's trying to hunt down. And that was basically the overall plot of the episode. And throughout the episode, we see flashbacks of Merlin and Thea kind of starting their relationship. So that was basically the overall episode description. Now, what did I think about the episode overall? Really, really enjoyed it. It's one of my favorite episodes of the entire show. I wouldn't say it's my number one favorite, but it's definitely up there pretty high. I really did like this episode. Excuse me. Alright. I apologize, guys. I'm feeling under the weather. So, but I'm going to get through this anyway because I love you. And I love Arrow, and I just have to talk about it. So, the positives. Let's start this bad boy. The conversation between Thea and Merlin in the beginning. It starts off at the end of season 2 when Thea gets in the car with Merlin. And we actually get to see that conversation and what was said and who said what. And I really like that conversation a lot. And I like that the episode started off right there. Speaking of Thea and Merlin, a really, really high point for me was the flashbacks. Yeah, we didn't really get to see Oliver in Hong Kong in this one, which I'm fine with. I mean, I have no problem with the Hong Kong flashbacks, really. I really started to dig it in the last episode. But I was really glad that this episode focused on Thea. Not really Thea and Merlin, really. This one was more about Thea, but the flashback scenes of Thea and Merlin developing their relationship and what's been happening the last, 6 months, those flashbacks were really high point for me. The next one, Ray Palmer. He's on my positives every episode so far this season. I really, really like the character of Ray Palmer. So much charisma when he's on screen, and him and Felicity have that great dynamic between the two. And I'm a big fan of Ray Palmer. And Brandon Routh is doing an excellent job. So yeah, Ray Palmer on the positives list yet again this week. Felicity got her own office, and she has her own executive assistant. Hang on. Alright, she has her own... Oof. She has her own executive assistant, and she has her own office, and I think it's really cool that they're doing something. Not that, Felicity's boring, not at all. Everyone loves Felicity. I mean, if you don't love Felicity, you need to get out right now. Click out of the video, because I don't want you watching my video. I'm just kidding. Stay. If you don't like Felicity, that's cool, but I don't really know anybody who doesn't like Felicity. But I'm glad that we get to see her kind of go in a different direction this season so far. A little bit. So yeah. There's a scene, this is the next positive here, there's a scene where Laurel is in an AA meeting, and this is on my positive list because, well, I like that, she's not fully recovered yet. I mean, yes, we haven't really seen her abuse alcohol or drugs yet this season, really. But it's still cool that we get every once in a while we'll see her in an AA meeting still, and very realistic that okay, it's gonna take her time to fully recover, even though she hasn't been abusing drugs and alcohol for a little while. I still like seeing her in AA. Roy telling Thea, did you guys get excited when I just said Roy? Because Roy was finally going to be on my positives. If you guys watch my after shows, you know that I'm not a big fan of the Roy character. I think the actor's fine. The actor's wonderful, actually. It's just I don't really like what they do with Roy. I don't really... I don't care. The only time I actually really liked Roy was in Season 2 when he was all hopped up on the Marakuru and he was doing, like, bad shit. That I thought he was badass then, but anyway, back to the next positive here. When Roy tells Sia that he hasn't really been sleeping, when he says that, we assume that, okay, he hasn't been sleeping because Thea hasn't been around, he misses her, and we get that. We got that in all the episodes so far. But when he said that, he kind of said it in a weird way, and looked at her in a weird way, and I'm starting to think that that's not really... I mean, that might be part of it, of why he's not sleeping, but I think there's something else going on with Roy. I have nothing to base that on, pure speculation, but I did like that. Excuse me again. And there's a scene where Felicity's trying to help out Diggle and Oliver. Diggle calls Felicity up, and Felicity didn't go with him to go get Thea. And Ray Palmer is trying to have a conversation with her, and, Diggle's on the phone trying to have a conversation with her, tell her what's up, we need your help. And then Laurel calls and says, look, I need a favor. And so Felicity's trying to talk to, have all three of these conversations at once. I thought that scene was really good, and it was funny, too. I always like the comedy in this show. Really, really well done by the writers. Oliver and Thea's conversation about secrets. When Oliver finally tells Thea that, look, Dad, didn't drown. He killed himself so you and I could live. And they're having that whole conversation back and forth about secrets and how the whole family has had secrets, and that's what pushed Thea away. I really like that conversation. Awesome, beautiful job, really well acted. I actually, really liked. This really isn't on my positives list, but Thea is really, really, really good in this episode, and I actually really like Thea. I think she's more of a badass. Her character is evolved, and I like seeing this side of Thea, and hopefully that's how she's going to be consistent throughout the season. But I like that dynamic between Oliver and Thea in this scene, the back and forth. I thought it was great. There's an element in this episode that popped up a couple times. Roy basically tells Oliver that he's going to go with him to go get Thea. And he starts getting his arrows and quiver and everything together. And Oliver goes, what are you doing? He's like, I'm going with you. He's like, no, I mean, what are you doing? You can't take those on the plane. He's like, oh, I never flew before. That was a cool little bit, but I liked the bit even more when they brought that back later. And Oliver pulls out bows and quivers, and Roy just looks at him. He's like, where'd you get that? He's like, I made it out of the hotel room stuff. And it just shows quick cuts of him, like, grabbing the thing for the curtains and, like, making arrows and shit. And I thought that element was pretty cool, that they brought it back and it wasn't just a one little joke, haha, and that's it. Again, brilliant job to the writing. Probably one of my favorite parts of this entire episode is what I like to call the sword sparring sessions. Yes, SSS, sword sparring sessions. Try saying that 5 times fast. Between Thea and Merlin. And that scene was awesome. Thea was actually a bad... I mean, we've seen a little glimpse of it at the end of last week, but in this week we actually got to see that a little bit more. And Thea's become a badass, It's been 6 months. enough time to get at least a little bit of training in, yeah? I mean, she's not going to be as skilled as her father is or anything, but, you know, it was cool seeing Thea being a badass, actually. So, more sword sparring sessions, please. And then when Felicity is leaving to go to Central City, look, she tells Ray Palmer, look, I have a friend. He's in a coma. Well, he was. He's not anymore. He's awake, and I need to go see him, basically. And she starts heading towards Central City. And I'm like, yeah. Because we see in the episode... oh, that's bad. We see in the episode preview of The Flash where Felicity is going to be in Central City next episode. So I like that Arrow and Flash are happening pretty much at the same time, for the most part. And, yeah, I really like seeing that setup for The Flash. And finally, the last big thing that happens that goes on my positives list is Nessa. Nessa Al Ghul returns. And she just shows up at the end. She shows up in the Arrow lair, I guess. The Arrow Cave. I know somebody else has used that term before, but I'm going to use it also. You didn't copyright it, so it's okay for me to take it. The Arrow Cave, and she goes, "Where's Sarah?" So we know that Nessa doesn't know yet, and so it's going to be cool seeing if, you know, because they're going to tell Nessa right away, like, look, don't kill us. This is what happened. We're trying to find her killer. You know, be cool. And so I'm really interested to see, you know, Nisa kick some ass next week. Negatives. Because, yes, there are a few negatives in here. This is the thing that bugged the shit out of me the most. As you guys know, I love the character of Laurel 99% of the time. There's been a couple spots where I'm like, hey. But 99% of the time, I like the character of Laurel. But this whole setup of her being the Black Canary, which I guess Laurel is Black Canary in the comic books, and that's all fine. But if you're going to do the whole Black Canary storyline, at least do it in a way that I'm going to like. A way that makes sense, you know what I mean? Because this whole thing about Laura going to Fight Club, I'm going to call it Fight Club, and I know you're not supposed to talk about it, but hey, it was all in his head anyway. It doesn't exist, so you can't talk about something that, you know, doesn't exist. Or you talk about something that doesn't exist. If it doesn't exist, it's okay to talk about it. Does that make sense? Yeah, Laurel joining this whole Fight Club thing because she wants to be a badass like her sister, and she wants to do good, as she put it. And I'm fine with that. I'm fine with Laurel becoming the Black Canary. I'm fine with her being a badass, but it needs to take a lot of time till she's there. She can't just have a couple training sessions and then be a badass. I know a lot of you guys are probably going to disagree with me on this, but I don't want her to do it so damn soon. You know what I mean? I want it to spread that storyline out. It's like, okay, we set it up in this episode, fine. But, I'm like, really? That's how she's going to do it? She's going to go to a Fight Club? She could have Oliver train her. Or, you know, go find the League of Assassins and have them train her. You know what? This is a theory. I doubt this is going to happen, but since Nessa shows up, and she's looking for Sarah, Laurel knows about Sarah, maybe Laurel will go with Nisa back to the League of Assassins and train with them, and be gone for a while training. I would actually like it if they did that. This whole Fight Club thing, I'm fine with it, but I don't I just don't want it to happen so damn soon. Spread that storyline out. Again, with Laurel, and I don't think Laurel was bad in this episode, it's just a couple of the things that she did, or didn't do. Laurel had an opportunity, yet again, to tell Lance about Sarah, and she went looking for this chick from her AA meeting, and her boyfriend was, like, beating the shit out of her, and so she put on a ski mask and went and beat the shit out of him, and she ended up in the hospital. And Lance is there, and he's like, "Look, you can't be the Arrow, and you can't be like your sister." And she's looking like she's getting ready to tell him, and I'm sitting there, and I'm like, "Tell him now, tell him now, tell him now." And she doesn't, of course. So I wonder how long they're gonna drag that out. And I even tweeted to Katie Cassidy and Paul Blackthorne, who plays Lance and Laurel. And I also tweeted the Arrow Twitter page, and I said something along the lines like, I said, "Katie Cassidy, tell Paul Blackthorne already. The anticipation, you gotta do it. You can't drag that out too long." And they actually favored it, and I believe they retweeted it. I'll have to double check that, but they definitely favored it. So I thought that was pretty cool. But anyway, yeah, she needs to tell him. And I think this next episode, when Nisa shows up and starts asking around for Sarah, I think that's when it's going to come out. So hopefully, we'll see. And the last negative. The villain in this was weak. I couldn't even tell you the dude's name. I don't remember his name. It was like Shaw or something like that. And I know he was just kind of a throwaway villain. He really didn't need to be there. I guess because it kind of gave Diggle something to do while Oliver was trying to bring Thea home. Because this episode is about Thea, like I already said. So I guess they kind of just stuck him in there to have Diggle, something for Diggle to do. So yeah, I didn't care for that, but that's not that big of a deal. I liked this episode focused on Thea and all that. So guys, what did you think of Season 3, Episode 3 of Arrow? And drop your comments down below if you've seen the episode. Like I said, I really liked the episode. I don't have too many negatives. Arrow, man, it's a good-ass show. And if you don't watch Arrow and you're watching all these after shows, go watch it. Really. Go watch it. Trust me. I was one of those guys who said, nah, I'm not going to watch it. I'm not a fan of the Green Arrow character or anything like that, the Green Arrow world. So I don't care about the show. And people kept telling me, look, watch the show, trust me. Sure enough, I bought Season 1 and 2 on DVD, I finished them, the day before Season 3 started. That's when I finished them. Holy shit. My second favorite show of all time now. I really, really love this show. Well, guys, that's all I can say for today. I'll see you guys in the next video.